called The Asian El Chapo.
One of the world's most wanted was picked up at an airport in Amsterdam over the weekend, ending a global manhunt for perhaps the most important organized crime figure that most people have never heard of. We're talking the alleged head of a vast multinational, multi-billion-dollar trafficking syndicate, perhaps the most prolific in history. Real kingpin stuff. The Mob Reporter here with news of the rise and potential fall of an alleged international drug baron who the United Nations compares to two of the biggest in underworld history, El Chapo and Pablo Escobar. Let me tell you about it. Publicly named as the boss of the Sam Gore Syndicate in 2019 by Reuters news agency, Say was placed in the top tier of wanted fugitives. An Interpol Red Notice was issued, which is an international arrest warrant, on behalf of Australian authorities, where he is...
All right, so basically what I want to speak about is that, all right, so Asian crime, we don't really hear much about it because we're on the other side of the world. If you live in America, you have to understand that crime is kind of based on your global neighborhood. We deal with a lot of crime with the Central Americans and South Americans because we're in the same global neighborhood as them. Australia and Europe, they deal more so with the Asian crime syndicates because, you know, Australia is right off Asia. If you don't know, a lot of those islands, I think Samoan Islands, please forgive me if I got this wrong, but it's a lot of Pacific Islanders. They're islands, you know, like Fiji and stuff like that in the vicinity of Australia. So Australians go to Asia to smuggle drugs and vice versa because that's in their global neighborhood. Australia, the majority of their college students, I think, foreign exchange are from Asia, China specifically, but that's simply because they're in the same global neighborhood. You know, Mexico is in our global neighborhood. They're like our, you know, like the house next door, your neighbor. So we're dealing more with the crime coming out of that. So let's talk about what's going on in the Golden Triangle back in 9/4. This man was untouchable. Khun, opium warlord of the world, Burma, which is now known as Myanmar, March of 94.
When you're talking about Khun, he's not a wanted man at all. Nobody really wants him. I mean, he's a friend with everybody. He's the most wanted man I ever heard of.
They can arrest me anytime, but that will not be the end of opium. They can kill me. That also will not be the end of opium. It would just mean they'd have to find a new drug king. February 1994, Bangkok, the economic wonder of Southeast Asia. Bangkok is the engine of the fast-growing development in Thailand. A city of banks and big money, but also of corruption, prostitution, and drugs. Bangkok is also the trading center for heroin from the so-called Golden Triangle. This drug haul represents just a small part of the growing quantities of heroin flooding the world from Southeast Asia. For the moment, Khun will have to celebrate his birthday in an out-of-the-way place in the Burmese jungle. All the ingredients are here, though, all imported from Thailand. The hill tribe people represent Khun Sar's power base. At the birthday party, they come to show him their respect. To them, Khun Sar is just the next leader in a history of autocratic foreign rulers.
I would say that he fits into the stereotype of a traditional Chinese warlord, a ruthless, authoritarian ruler who looks after his underlings.
And I don't know if you remember the video I did about China, and I told you how China before. All right, so you had all these great dynasties in the ancient world. Then as we got closer to the modern world, China became disunified. You had a warlord of the north, south, east, west, and it was no China. The concept of China didn't exist. So if Japan came and attacked the south, the warlords in the south, east, and west don't care because they don't consider that a part of China, because there is no China. They had their own little area. You understand? And let's talk about Myanmar. Myanmar is the new name for Burma. Majority Buddhist country, lots of drugs, lots of them. That's Shan State.
Standing here as the sun goes down over this absolutely beautiful valley surrounded by poppies, it's hard to believe that this area has seen so much conflict, all of it driven by opium.
The opium is fueling conflict, but conflict is also fueling opium production. So in that sense, it's right there, it's at the core. The local farmers are not getting rich on this opium production, not at all. This is a way to survive. Of course, the higher you get in the ranks, the more money they get into it. So if you are transporting the drugs at a higher level, you might get some more. If you're talking about the top, for sure it's organized crime.
And what happens to this town?
This town where we at now, gone.
Because of heroin.
Yeah, because of the heroin.
And that's real talk. And another thing that I want to end this with is this. My last video, I gave you the statistics of how many black people are killed by gun violence a day. 30 are killed, 110 are shot, but survive. That's 100,000 bodies every 10 years. Columbus, Ohio has 100,000 people. Black people have been stagnant at 12% of the population for a while. Remember, I'm on YouTube, so this is censored, so I'm going to give you the PG version. There's a theory out there that says rap music, media outlets, in combination with a lot of other factors, want this to happen. They understand the dynamics at play. That's why they don't want to improve the neighborhoods, because they know if we allow the current trend, every 50 years, Fresno, a city about, and every 100 years, let's say San Francisco, a San Francisco worth of people, black people, are eliminated every 100 years. So when we have babies, we're not doing anything but replenishing the ranks. So every generation, we lose a generation. Every 50 years, we lose a Fresno worth of people. Fresno was a huge city. Every 100 years, we lose a San Francisco worth of people. And that's the reason why our population is stagnant. And that's the reason why we're still considered minorities, because there are deeper mechanics at play. Peace.